I'm actually in my vehicle, and the wind noise is a little bit overwhelming, if you will. I want to talk about several things. I was just on the Breitbart News. I'm not sure what they exactly call there. Actually, I can look at it real quick and see. Yeah, Breitbart News Daily on Sirius XM Radio. And I was talking about the Uvalde shooting, talking about my book, How to Make a Monster, about rampage killers like the Uvalde shooter. And I wanted to kind of do a live stream because a lot of what we have to say needs to be said quick. I'm headed to the NRA annual meeting right now, so I'm not going to have time to put together, highly produced videos over the next few days because I'll be tied up in Houston. But these things need to get out because things are moving fast on the left, on the anti-gun movement. These guys in the anti-gun business, they operate on emotion. They not only operate on emotion, they seize on emotion. When something has a heightened sense of emotion and awareness, they pounce on it. They've learned that that's an absolutely effective technique because emotions, they control what people say and do in many cases. Some people, a lot of people, will do things that they would not normally do when their emotions are heightened. They're more reasonable thinking when their emotions are not heightened. You see that, I don't know, when people lose a loved one, when people have a child. There's different senses that they tap into. And they're really trying to tap into this. And again, they've learned from the past. They're putting this out there to have common sense gun control. Common sense gun control. There is no such thing as common sense gun control. There's not. Controlling guns is not common sense. So we have to learn to stop using their nomenclature, their wording, the phrases that they use, because they try to normalize these phrases and words so that more of us will use them. And then once more of us use them, we're one step closer to being okay with some of the things that they're also trying to normalize, which is banning guns and things like that. One of the things that I mentioned on Breitbart News Daily just now is that this compromise that they speak of, we have to realize that it is not an equal compromise. What the anti-gun profitable business is really looking for, they're looking for infringements on the Constitution. They want us to be okay with infringements on the Constitution, so they go for that low-hanging fruit. They go for the things that they think we might be okay with that they know infringe upon the Second Amendment. That's what they want. They want to ban guns. They want to ban standard capacity magazines that are in high use. They want red flag gun laws. These are the things that will be floated in the coming days as far as their part of the compromise. So again, let me quickly repeat that. What the left wants is to ban constitutionally protected things. What we have to be careful that we're not willing to trade in return. We can't say that our trade, this trade is, I'm not suggesting that this trade is okay. I'm talking about the Congress people. They're the ones that are trying to trade away our rights, not me. What we have to be careful of is that we don't say, okay, now I'm talking about the Republicans in Congress. They can't say, okay, we'll consider banning guns and we'll consider unconstitutional laws like red flag gun laws if you will consider hardening schools. Are you kidding me? These are two completely separate things. They should not be in the same conversation. Banning constitutionally protected items is not even in the same ballpark as making schools safe and secure for our unarmed children to go to on a daily basis. That should not be a trade. That's like trading a cow for a hamburger. These are not in the same ballpark. Why are we even considering that? A lot of people wonder, okay, well, why haven't we hardened schools? Let me tell you why. And I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna, there's a book out there that discusses why the left won't let go of some of the most simple and basic things as far as protecting our children. Bernie Sanders in 2020 made over $1 million, not almost 1 million, over $1 million from the anti-gun lobby. Not from all the other companies out there, not all these other donors out there, from just the anti-gun movement. He made over $1 million in 1 year to try to infringe upon the Second Amendment. That's all his job was. He could get a cool $1 million just for speaking out against Second Amendment rights. If Bernie Sanders doesn't ask for something from the gun rights movement, the pro-Second Amendment movement, if he doesn't ask for something that chips away at the Second Amendment, go down your list of all the things you want to talk about, bullet points, as far as what the anti-gun movement has been proposing over the years. Take your pick. If he doesn't ask for one of the things on that item, on that list, and in turn he offers up hardening our schools, making sure that they are looked at and protected. Our children cannot go into these schools and be unprotected. If he offers that, then the anti-gun movement stops writing checks to Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders knows that hardening schools is not a gun issue, because it's not. It's a safety issue for our children, the safety and security of our very own children and his grandkids, which, by the way, they don't go to the same schools as our kids do. So Bernie Sanders knows that he can't give anything if he doesn't get anything in return that is an infringement on the Second Amendment. We're not trading equal things. And I say we, again, I'm speaking of the two different parties in Congress. It's not an equal trade. So we're asking, and again, the right in Congress are asking for protection for our children. The left is asking for, okay, we'll let you protect our children if you give us some kind of an infringement on the Constitution. That is not equal. That is not common sense. That's not appropriate. It's not okay to trade portions of our constitutional rights for something that should already be being done, like protecting our children. That's like a politician saying, I'm not going to put up a traffic light or a stop sign or a speed limit sign unless you ban AR-15s. It's the exact same concept. One should be done because it's the right thing to do. The other is a plea to try to tear away at a constitutionally protected right. Guys, that is not right. And now we've got Mitch McConnell, who's over there trying to convince Texas Republican Senator John Cornyn to go ahead and start talking to the anti-gun left on some kind of a middle ground compromise. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So we're sitting here saying that, okay, because we have heightened emotions right now, which means people are not thinking straight, because we have heightened emotions, now's the time to act. When you have heightened emotions, that's the absolute time not to act. That's when you don't act, because you're not thinking responsibly. You're not thinking reasonably. You let things settle down and you talk with cooler heads. That's when you make reasonable decisions, not whenever you have heightened senses of emotion. That's why whenever those of us that carry firearms, that's the number one thing we talk about, is if you are carrying a firearm, I'm driving right now, you get in a road rage incident, that's the worst time to reach for your firearm, because it's probably the wrong time. It's more than likely not a life or death situation. But you have heightened emotions, so you're not making good judgment calls. So what we're doing is we're schooling ourselves on making sure that we make good judgment calls when we have heightened sense of awareness and emotions, not awareness, but emotions. But yet we're turning around and telling politicians that we're okay with you making decisions that affect the laws in our country and our Constitution while you have a heightened sense of emotion. It's not right. It's backwards. We should be telling them, absolutely don't make any decisions right now. You're emotional. You can't think straight. We don't need you passing legislation, or emergency legislation like they call it. You know what we got the last time we had emergency legislation? We had lockdowns in this country. You know what the thing was that we had before that for emergency legislation? The Patriot Act. Now you tell me if you think the Patriot Act and lockdowns in the United States of America were effective. Were they wrong things to do? Absolutely they were. Did they feel like the right thing to do at the time? Maybe. Some people think that. A lot of people bought into the Patriot Act whenever it went in place because it felt like the right thing to do because of 9/11 and the planes hitting the World Trade Center. It was a heightened sense of emotion. Everybody was like, oh yeah, Patriot Act. Same thing with lockdowns. Oh my God, we don't know what's happening. Let's make sure that we lock the entire country down. It ruined our economy and killed our country. The world economy. These are perfect examples of why we should not enact any kind of emergency legislation. We should look at the past and realize that when something is called emergency legislation, it is the absolute wrong thing to do and the time to pump the brakes and wait till things settle back down so we can think with a clear head and pass laws that make sense and stop doing stupid things based simply on emotion and the right thing to do. This is not the right time to do anything. I don't care what happened. And I know that sounds insensitive. I don't care what happened whenever you're trying to pass unconstitutional legislation. Do I care about what happened in Uvalde, Texas? Of course I do. Stop trying to paint me with the brush of like the anti-gun movement does all the time, that we're insensitive. We are more sensitive than they are because we're willing to harden our schools and protect our children today, right now. They won't do it unless they get some kind of a trade in return. So I don't care what the things are that are making people emotional in the world right now. It is never a good time to pass anti-constitutional things in this country, no matter what just took place. It's not the time to do it. I'm sickened. I find it absolutely gross and disgusting that the anti-gun movement can seize on an opportunity like they are right now to try to force something through and feign outrage and act angry. Guys, I'm going to tell you this. This is going to sound insensitive. I don't care. I don't believe people in Washington, D.C. care about our children. I don't care what political party you're in. I do not think politicians in Washington, D.C. care about our children. So whenever they fake and feign outrage out there, I don't believe it, I don't buy it, and I don't care that they're upset. Because I know that I'm upset right now, and I know my emotions are so much different than theirs that I would never say that we have to make a trade in order to protect our children. I would never do that. Upset, emotional, or not, I would never say, okay, I think we have to protect our children, but I'm going to need a little something first. That's just like saying, man, I'll pass a law, but can you pay me a little money first? No, if it's the right thing to do, it's the right thing to do. There shouldn't be an offer of a trade. There should be nothing on the table. The only thing on the table should be protecting our children, and that's got zero to do with guns. Nothing. No new law that would have been passed would have protected those children in Uvalde, Texas. You know the only law that you could have passed, and I'm not suggesting this, I'm playing the devil's advocate on how ridiculous of a law we would have to pass. the only law we could potentially pass that would protect those children from being specifically shot with a gun, it doesn't change all the other ways they could have died, is if we not outlaw guns, if we could pass a law where we had some kind of magic that made every single gun and every single bullet just disappear, and every means of making more guns disappeared also. That's the only way these children would not have been shot. Now, you know what would have happened? Then this wacko would have gone in there with a baseball bat, knives, ice picks, bombs, something else this wacko would have used in order to commit the heinous crime that he committed. That's what would have been used. That's the only way. It is not possible to pass a law to legislate evil away. Guys, we have elected some of the worst people to lead this country ever on both sides. We are expecting people with no moral compass to legislate about morality. The right thing to do is to protect our children. If they don't care about our children, then they don't know how to do the right thing to protect them. Again, we're putting our hope in the hands of people to make moral decisions who have no moral compass. They are not guided by morality like we are. We know the right things to do. These legislators don't. And if they think they know, they're so twisted and corrupted that they're not willing to do the right thing without getting something in return. It's all about the trade with them. There's never something that says, this is the right thing to do, let's just do it. Because they have, again, okay, and you're going to see this in the coming days. These are the two things that are being spun around in Washington right now. And I have some inside sources that are telling me the things that the people on the right, the politicians on the right, are trying to give up, that they feel like is the thing that they can give for their share of this somehow common sense compromise, is red flag gun laws and outlawing private gun sales. Those are the two things. Now, they're trying to say that a red flag gun law could have stopped the shooting in Uvalde. Actually, it could not have, because this person, this wacko, purchased his firearms after all of the things that he would have been on the radar screen for. Now, I'm not suggesting red flag gun laws are the right thing. Go back and look at all of my videos where I rant about red flag gun laws. They're the absolute wrong thing to do. My point is, a red flag gun law would not have stopped this Uvalde shooting. So why are we proposing that law? Why are we saying that's a compromise? If it's not going to stop the argument that we have right now, then why would we ever offer that up as a compromise if we know that wouldn't have solved this situation? But on the other hand, what we're going to be asking for is hardening our schools. Would that have helped? Absolutely it would have. So why are we trading things that one would have had an impact and the other would not have? Why is that even an offer? Doing that. We absolutely should not be doing that. And the other thing that the wackos on the right are offering is outlawing private gun sales. Would that have stopped this? Absolutely not. Out of 4473, and the federal government, which includes the ATF, all these little alphabet organizations, all play into the NICS system, the NICS system, that is the National Instant Criminal Check System, or whatever you want to call it. This guy did his paperwork. He got his information submitted to these federal agencies that are anti-gun. They approved him to purchase these guns. So no new background check system would have changed this. Nothing would have. This person was not a person that was not approved to have a firearm. So nothing that we're talking about would have changed anything except hardening our schools. The compromise should be, we can talk about guns later, but we need to be talking about protecting our children now, because these are unrelated. Our politicians who are supposed to be representing us need to separate the two. They need to have school safety that has nothing to do with guns, and then they can keep their little Second Amendment guns discussions in another box altogether. The same committee shouldn't even be hearing these two. You should have different committees that are talking amongst and about these two different issues. They are completely unrelated. Again, I go back to, that's like saying, let's have a gun control conversation and a street sign conversation. They are unrelated, and they don't need to be taking place at the same time by the same people. You put the traffic light and the street sign people talking about street signs and traffic lights, and you let the gun people talk about gun issues. You do not include that in the same conversation, because they are 100% unrelated. So why are we talking about protecting our children in schools and guns at the same time? They are two completely separate issues, and I'm tired of them being lumped together. I'm tired of it being, do you want your kids to be safe? Well, then give me something on guns. No, I'm not. They are unrelated, and I'm not going to give any of that. Does that mean I'm not willing? I'm not willing to compromise on the Constitution? No. But you're willing to compromise a law saying that children don't need to be kept safe. They're protecting something that is keeping our children not safe. I'm protecting something that the founding fathers put to keep us safe. We are letting these wackos on the left control the conversation. We have got to put an end to that. We have got, whenever they interject and say, make it sound like, well, do you want your kids to be safe? That's when the conversation should stop. We should say, I'm not having a conversation about this. You cannot trade my child's safety for some kind of anti-gun bill that you want to pass. That is not a common sense conversation. That's a conversation crazy people do. I'm sick of it, guys. I'm not having it. I'm not having it anymore. Again, I'm headed to the NRA annual meeting over in Houston, Texas right now. They are supposedly, of course, they always have the anti-gun groups out there picketing and protesting and all that. We're used to that. But they've enlisted the help of Black Lives Matter. This is according to Jared from Guns and Gadgets, a good friend of mine who's also over here in Houston. That now that they're seeking assistance from Black Lives Matter, why would you seek the help to protest from a violent organization? Why would you do that? Black Lives Matter has never been known to protest peacefully. They are directly associated with violent protests, burning cities, attacking people. So why would the wackos on the left enlist the help of what I consider a domestic terrorist organization? You know why? Because they hope something goes down over here. They know that people like me are headed that way. And they know that people like me are legally carrying a firearm. They know that, or they hope that something will pop off. They hope somebody will get shot. That's how the wackos on the left are. They will sacrifice their own just, even if somebody in Houston lawfully shoots somebody in self-defense this weekend. If a white person who is legally carrying a firearm legally defends themselves this weekend with a firearm against anyone of color this weekend who is attacking them, the narrative will not be what it should be. This will be twisted and turned and bent out of shape. Again, they are willing to sacrifice some of their own just to make a political point, even if it's inaccurate. They don't care that it's inaccurate. They want to try to control that narrative. You and I both know what the headlines would read if that type of situation takes place this weekend in Houston, Texas. We know how the headlines would read. It is not a mystery to me or you how this would read out on the cover of a newspaper or on the thing scrolling at the bottom of a news cycle. It's dangerous times right now, guys. This is not a time right now that we should be going, I'm pretty emotional. I feel pretty bad for those kids in Uvalde, so maybe we do need to give a little bit of our Second Amendment rights up. No, we do not. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I will not compromise with the Second Amendment under any circumstance and no matter what happens in the news. They are not the same. My child's safety is not tied to the Constitution. That's not how it works. Again, guys, I'm sick of it. I'm fed up, man. I'm so fed up. I just get to a point where I want to grab people by the shoulders. Friends, people that I know, friends that are, I think thinking the same way that I do. And just grab them by the shoulders and shake them sometimes and go, wake up. They're getting to you. This is not the time. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. We cannot act on emotions or while we're emotional. Just for those of you to know, I'm passing Buc-ee's in Baytown, Texas right now, one of my favorite stops. Probably the first time I've ever passed this place and not stopped. Because I'm not feeling it right now, man. Bye, Buc-ee's. I couldn't sleep last night knowing that, and this is from excitement, knowing that I might have the chance to stand toe-to-toe with some wacko today and do my best to try to educate them on the Second Amendment and debunk every single lie and every single misconception that they try to throw at me, that they're reading off of a bullet item list from some well-produced, shiny new sign that's been ready and waiting to get put out there at a time like this. These people never miss an opportunity. They are square dancing on the graves of these 10-year-old children that were in 4th grade in Uvalde, Texas. The Gabby Giffords firm making lots of money. I posted a video in the last couple days about various things, and I had screenshots on there that I was taking every few hours. They were literally, it was like a badge of honor. They were literally showing how much money they were making on their sponsored paid-for posts on their Facebook page. Hey, this is what we're up to now. We're up to $1,200. All on the backs of these dead babies. They were bragging about that. Look how much money we've made. What are you going to do with that money? No safety involved whatsoever. Zero safety. We're not going to make anyone safer. What we're going to do is print some really nice signs, make some really cool t-shirts, and send them to our people in Houston, Texas next weekend so that they can rant and rave against our Constitution. Sad, man. So sad. We are the majority, guys. We are the majority. We are not the minority. Do not let them fool you into thinking that you are part of the problem. I saw the statistic again last night that some wacko left-leaning organization shared that said 90% of Americans favor universal background checks. No, that is not true. I've said it before. You can get any kind of response to your poll that you want depending on what street corner in America that you were standing on. And when you walk outside on a street corner in Chicago or New York City and you ask the untrue phrase, do you believe in background checks for gun purchases? You might get 90% of people that say yes. But even in those same places in New York and Chicago, if you said, do you believe in background checks, having to pay for a background check when you want to give your son a gun, when you want to loan a firearm to somebody, when someone dies and someone inherits that gun, do you believe that they should have to pay for a background check before they receive it? You will get an emphatic no. But that's what they're doing to try to play the bait and switch game. They're asking the background check question, but they're not meaning background checks, which we already have. I talked about it in a video that I uploaded yesterday. This idiot Larry Gatlin, some country music singer who was supposed to perform at the NRA show this weekend in Houston, said he's not going to perform simply because he doesn't believe in the NRA's antiquated belief system or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. Now, I'm not the one to be defending the NRA because, again, I'm state director for Gun Owners of America in Louisiana. Totally different organization. But I have to defend the NRA in this. The NRA does not support no background checks. If Larry Gatlin would pull his head out of his ass and ask a couple of questions, the people who were going to write him a check to perform this weekend, or the NRA, if he would have said, hey guys, do y'all have background checks? You know what they would have told him? Yeah. Haven't you bought a gun? Larry Gatlin says he carries a gun every day. Clearly, Larry Gatlin did not purchase that gun from an FFL dealer, because had he done so, he would know that he had to fill out a background check first. So here we go again with celebrities having different sets of rules. Somebody probably bought the gun for him, which is illegal. They had to fill the background check out. So Larry is probably illegally carrying a gun based on current law, but yet he doesn't think, because he's never had to fill out a background check, that we have them. That's the problem that we have. We have let the left control the narrative and make it sound like we don't have background checks. Because this man said, Larry Gatlin, in his statement, that background checks would be a start in the right direction. He didn't say universal background checks. He didn't say outlawing private sales. He said background checks, which again, we currently have. So the guy is either politically motivated, he fancies himself as a conservative, so he's either not, and he's lying about this, or he's just lying about it, or he's ignorant. It's one of those things. He's lying or he's stupid. Personally, I think he's stupid. I think he wants to be a conservative. I just think he's too stupid to know what the actual laws are. Folks, it's it's happening. They are talking behind your backs right now in Washington, D.C. Again, I have sources over there. This is not something small that's happening. They are going to wait for this week to pass, and you watch what happens next week. Even though they're already prancing on the graves of these 10-year-old kids talking about gun laws, they do have some cooler heads on the left who realize that this week, because those children have not even been put in the ground yet, so they know that this is not the time to put that law up. Next week, you're going to see it. These laws have been written. They're already ready to go, and they will put them out next week. Heck, Chuck Schumer has already threatened to put laws out, or at least to propose laws next week. Now, the president, gosh, I can't even call him that. Joe Biden has not threatened an executive order yet, which we all know executive orders are not laws. They are okay to ignore. That man has not put those out yet, any kind of an executive order. It makes me wonder why. It's the first thing that would happen is his son, Hunter Biden, would probably be thrown in jail. No, he wouldn't. The law doesn't apply to them. But all I can figure is there's a reason for it. And I think he knows that his executive orders are not true laws. So if he passed it, none of us would follow them. So maybe Joe Biden is pumping the brakes right now because he knows that the only way for a law to not be struck down is to pass it the proper way through the legislative branch. Now, whatever unconstitutional law gets passed will still at some point make it to the Supreme Court. But if Joe Biden were to pass an executive order, it would more than likely go into effect right away and be deemed unconstitutional pretty quick. Whereas if you pass a law legislatively, somebody has to be wronged. Somebody has to be arrested and thrown in jail in order for them to be able to appeal it and it go to the Supreme Court, or make it eventually to the Supreme Court. Again, I'm no attorney. I just know generally how the law works. I know I've missed some steps in there and I may have misspoke on a couple of things, but yeah, somebody has to be wronged before you can file a suit in order to say something is unconstitutional for it to go through the court system and eventually make it to the Supreme Court. It's a long, drawn-out process. But that law stays in place until it makes it to the Supreme Court and is deemed unconstitutional. So if the Senate and Congress are successful in passing a law, it will remain law, and all legal, law-abiding gun owners will be subject to that law until the Supreme Court strikes it down, which is a long, drawn-out process. So more of us would be wronged, thrown in jail, arrested, have our Second Amendment rights, our constitutional rights in general, taken from us until the Supreme Court would strike that law down. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. That's some slick, evil son of a bitches we have in Washington, D.C., man. Guys, I can see the skyline of Houston over here. I'm going to get off of here. I just had to rant about a few things because I'm emotional, which is not the time to pass laws. I hope to see you guys at the NRA annual meeting here in Houston. I will be at the Rock Island Armory booth signing copies of my book, How to Make a Monster. The Rock Island Armory booth is booth number 4423. I'd love to see you guys. I love meeting you guys. I got bags of free stuff, Legally Armed America stuff to give away to you guys. So please swing by booth number 4423, the Rock Island Armory booth, Arms Corps booth. And I'm happy to meet you guys, shake your hands. I always enjoy meeting good Americans out there. And let's have a conversation about what's going on, guys. Have a great Friday. Have a safe Friday. Don't let somebody trick you or talk you into doing something stupid. We need to be reaching out to our politicians and telling them that you need to wait, because this is not the time to pass legislation.